Uh, Krista is a ghostwriter, blogger, and a beginner skier, and she happens to be blind. So, like, kudos to what you're achieving as a blind person. I have to say, I've seen a lot of skiers who have got full eyesight who go all over the place and can't keep to a track at all. So, for you to do that, amazing. As founder of wisewords.matter.com, she uses writing to position speakers and other thought leaders for maximum impact and credibility. Having once shied away from her journey, she now inspires audiences with her experiences, facing fear, overcoming stigma, and embracing personal branding. With a curious mind and a thirst for knowledge, Krista crafts informative, inspiring content, books, bios, blogs, etc. She's garnered local media coverage for clients, and her feature articles have been published in local newspapers and magazines. Krista, we're so delighted to have you on our stage. Please go ahead.
So raise your digital hand for me if you would love to have a brainstorming partner that you could have 24/7, that never needs sleep, that's always available, and that can help you with your creative projects. And I am able to start sharing my content with you. And what we're going to talk about is saving time, getting inspired, and brainstorming with our AI. It doesn't really matter as much which AI you're using, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Claude, whether it is a custom AI with some custom prompting information. That's not as important as what we are actually telling the AI and what sort of brainstorming power it has to help us out. Now, first, in order to get the AI to help you brainstorm better for your next creative project, whether it's a blog, book, bio, anything that you want to be writing about, you want to talk about providing the AI with, you want to provide the AI with background info. First of all, what do you know about your audience? You'll want to think about whether you're working with a writer, a videographer, or an AI. The questions are kind of along the same lines. You want to be thinking about what pain points or problems your audience members need solving, or your viewers or your readers, what sort of training, education, credentials they might have so that you understand the lens that they will be viewing what you're presenting, and the clientele that they serve. Because you want to be thinking about the clientele that they're serving, because you're going to be helping them to solve their challenges. And along those lines, we're talking about, notice how in this screenshot, I'm providing some background info, and I'm trying to also get AI to help me fill in some gaps, which we'll talk about later. And as a result of me asking for it to fill in background, it then leads to a conversation about decision makers. Because I need to know how the companies that I work with make their decisions, and also how the people who choose them, because I'm helping to market them, how the people who choose them make the decision to hire them, which we'll talk about again in just a bit. Now, so this is the AI's response here. And I want to share a prompt example, a fun prompt example. It's kind of classic if you read prompt engineering type stuff, but it's super useful, surprisingly useful, actually. If you ask the AI to act as, and in this case, act as a professional or expert with knowledge of, and then you put in the field or the industry, or you can ask it to act as an expert with training in, and put that area of expertise in there. This is a powerful technique because it'll help help the AI narrow in, because it's got access to a lot of knowledge, but a lot of it is kind of general knowledge, and some of it is very, very specific knowledge that it can narrow in on. And you can ask your AI in its new role some very key questions like, why do your clients choose you? Ask it as though it were a person, or you can ask about the profession as well. But if you want to kind of be in the spirit of brainstorming, what keeps you and your colleagues up at night? What new angles or underexplored topics do you suggest I use in my content marketing to connect with people like you? And when you need information about whatever topic, where do you turn? These are great questions to ask your real audience members. But if you can't do that or you don't have enough of them, you can at least get some ideas from your AI. Certainly not perfect, but it's a good start. See how I'm asking, why do your clients choose you? And I'm using that act as prompt. And notice I'm asking about the new angle. And I'm going to be asking about where it gets info in just a bit as well. Or where the person, if it were a real person, where that person gets the info about a particular topic that the AI suggests, which in this case is strategic design. If you lack background info, then you can ask your AI to imagine filling in some more gaps by asking questions like, what everyday concerns do people in whatever profession or situation face? What training might they have? Going back to the training, it's really important to know what they already know so that you can use language that matches that, or visuals that match how they look at the world. So in my case, as a writer, as a ghostwriter and blogger, what problems might I be able to solve for them? And that's where the script shot here comes in, because I'm starting to ask those questions. What problems might I solve for web designers that I'm to reach? Now, we're verifying facts or originality. AI is notorious not only for making things up, but also for not telling us what is actual fact and what it has made up. We can't actually count on it to do this, but we can try. I'm going to give you some examples here. Where have you seen whatever specific concept, or maybe it has put a quote there in front of you? Where have you seen this before? Does the specific concept or quote look familiar to you? Is the specific response commonly discussed? You want to find out if it's a common idea, if it's a relatively new or maybe even unpopular idea. And you can verify elsewhere. So especially if the AI is not giving anything to tell you, but you can check search engines, reputable, trusted sources. Do not forget these. Just because we have AI doesn't mean that you stop verifying your facts. And so we're going through these conversations so that you can get a sense of so I had asked the AI about micro moments, which is a hot marketing topic it had recommended to me. But if you look at this here, notice how actually the same concept that it gave me, the no, go, do, and buy, actually came from Google. It took the concept right out of Think with Google and did not cite the source when it gave me that information. And because of that, I learned an important lesson. Thankfully, I had already thought to verify it. But later on, I thought maybe the AI can actually help me do that verification. And that's what you see here, where I'm asking the AI where it has seen this concept of no, go, do, buy, micro moments concept before. And it does share that it's been popularized on Google, from Google. Do you trust your competitors? I bet a lot of you don't. And if you don't trust them, don't use them as trusted sources. This seems pretty basic, but you might be surprised at how many people cut and paste from their competitors. How many people tell their content writers, well, you can just use the information that my competitor is giving you as reliable. Well, do you trust them? If not, don't use them. You can also create an outline from a summary or from notes. And I like to use a pretty simple prompt here. Create an outline for whatever type of content that you're looking to create, targeting, and then you put your audience information. You talk about who you're targeting. Again, with the background, the description here. So I have an outline here. I actually asked it to, just for fun, create an outline for this presentation. I did not use all of what it said and did, but I did have it create the outline. And I put notes in there. I put my information, I put my title and description and all that kind of fun stuff. And I got it to create, voila, the outline. And it can be pretty detailed. It gives you a nice structure that you can then use and go in there and see. And you can actually start to get it to write boilerplate content for you as well. But again, I would caution you that as you start to break down this outline, and do not just use what it gives you, because it's going to be drawing on whatever is common unless you say otherwise. And it's also going to, it's a prediction engine. I mean, those of you who know about AI, this is basic. It is trying to predict what comes next. But a lot of people who are newer to AI don't realize it. And now I'm going to offer you, if you want a free consultation to discuss the goals for your book or your blog or your course, then you can type your email address to me in the chat so that I can, and I can also send you my calendar link so you can book time with me, because I want to help you clarify where you are in the process. And then we can explore service levels or options if the desire is there.
Awesome.
Awesome,
Anybody have any
Krista. Thank you. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, anybody got any questions for Krista at all? Then feel free to raise your hand or unmute and ask away. Judy.
Hi, Krista. That was so clear and wonderful. I'm wondering, how are you saving prompts that you find valuable, and how you're doing that? So like you had that prompt to create an outline. So how are you repurposing prompts that you find useful?
I don't have a good system for it. I just type them in. I'm sorry to not have a brilliant answer to that one.
No, I just was wondering. Yeah, I was wondering because I'm starting to go, well, I want to use that one again. So I have a
Yes.
tool called Text Edit that I use. So I'm doing that because then I can find it really fast.
That is a great idea. Absolutely.
And if you don't know what Text Edit is, it's a tool that lets you create well, you can do almost anything with it. That then it's like a shorthand, and then you type in that little bit of maybe 3 or 4 letters, and it'll expand out what you want to put in there, and you can sort and do things with it. So it's a great tool.
If I may, what I usually recommend for keeping track of prompts and stuff like that is either one, basically create a folder system in your like Google Drive or your OneDrive or whatever your cloud source is, and create just a folder, and you can have nested folders within, depending on how many of these you have. You can have like, these are ones for book writing, these are ones for brainstorming, these are ones for, you know, just have different folders. And then the name of the doc can be what it's for. And then you have your prompt inside. You could also do a similar thing if you use Microsoft Suite. OneNote would be a similar way that you could do that, and have a notebook for all of your prompts, and then you have like folders within. And I like doing all of the like nested things so I can actually find everything.
Come to my house and fix my stuff.
But like that's how I would recommend, that's how I usually recommend keeping track of everything, is figure out whatever filing system works for you. You can all create the same kind of thing for all of your AI prompts.
Excellent. Thank you.
Awesome. And any more questions for our presenter, Krista? I have one, Krista. Could you tell us a story of how you worked with a client and how AI helped that interaction? And I guess in a way, I think you'd be very skilled at telling us how we can use AI to work with a client.
I definitely, what I use AI for in terms of when I'm working with clients is to get a preliminary sense of that background info, to get a kind of like an introduction to them. So that's kind of you saw throughout the presentation, although of course you didn't have time to read it all, the screenshots of kind of some of that background gathering, some of that, when I'm asking it questions, like it's a lot of times I'm having it pretend to be my client, or otherwise talking about my client or about my client's clients, because I want to be catering to them when I'm writing and when I'm creating informational content or trust building content. Because ultimately the best way to build trust is to understand what your viewer, reader, listener wants, and to share on a very personal level, which is kind of where the AI stops for the most part, is to share on a personal, not personal like bearing your soul, but personal like individual level of how you or your brand or your company is specially positioned to help your clients. And that's one thing that I do when I talk to people that the AI is not as good at doing. The AI, you can ask it, for example, I'd like help writing my bio, and it will ask you all sorts of questions. But when you give it the answers, it may not do well as far as uncovering the depth to your answers, the things that remain unsaid. And that's where a human brainstorming partner or a writer comes in, because they know how to get underneath more than your machine learning AI brainstorming partner would.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to try that.
And I'll just, when you're thinking of asking another question, I use OneNote. I have found that very easy to tabulate and keep all of my notes and prompts. And and the results that I'm getting from the prompts as well. So that for me has been very good. Krista, thank you so much for doing that presentation. It was absolutely awesome to listen to you and hear what you have to say. So fantastic. Thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you. What we're going to do next, though, is we're going to go back into a breakout. And what we're asking you in this breakout, and I'm going to share my screen here. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. I hope you had a really good breakout session there, and sharing what you are going to be creating with your AI and how that will help you. So does anybody want to do any sharing, any aha moments that you had from that session? Was there anything useful that you got out of that?
One of the things that I learned, oh, sorry, I didn't raise my hand. Go ahead, Judy.
I was just going to say, Ken had a really good use of AI. He's taking his audio and video and he's running it through AI, and he created a book in 2 weeks, going through organizing that information, and voila. And I think that's brilliant because a lot of us give talks. You can now use, and I use a bunch of different tools, but Descript is one of my favorite ones, and it'll go through, does a beautiful job, and saves a ton of time.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Judy. How about you, Susie?
I learned that no matter who the timekeeper is, we're just so excited to have a conversation with each other that we forget to actually watch the time. So it doesn't seem to matter. We're just so excited.
I agree with her.
Awesome. I'm glad for that. Did you have any other takeaways, or was the time flies the only one?
Well, yeah, I mean, like it's so interesting how like us, I think almost all of us are in, tech to some extent, or a lot of us had a background in tech. And then so it's so interesting to hear how each of us with our different tech backgrounds wind up still gravitating towards AI and finding just really interesting things to do. So I think that's, for me as somebody in the AI fields and like doing AI stuff all the time, it's always so interesting for me to hear how other people are jumping into it and what they're doing with it. So that's what it is for me, really.
Awesome, Susie. Anybody else, just raise your hand. And in the meantime, I will share. I was actually just sharing this with Shane a couple of minutes ago. One of the ways that I used AI very, very recently, in fact, yesterday, my daughter was applying for a PhD position, and she wanted me to have a look over it. And of course, you can't use AI to write your application, because if you do, the university is basically going to say, nope, you're not going to go and do a PhD with us. But what I did was I took the job description, and I took her cover letter, and I took her CV and put in and said, here is the job description for a PhD position. And bear in mind, this is PhD level. It talks about, I can't even repeat the terms, but this is like study of very small organisms and do gene sequencing of them. And it's in this particular specialist field, and they're talking about a Hox gene, whatever a Hox gene is, kind of thing. And I took us, I said, this is the cover letter and this is the CV. Where are the gaps? What are we missing? What could we emphasize? And then he came back and said, hey, you can do this, you can shorten this bit, you can, it said, you don't have experience with a Hox gene, but it says in the job description that it's a nice to have, not a requirement. So you're good there. You have covered all of the requirements, you have explained it, everything. So from that, we got about 4 or 5 points that I told my daughter, hey, what about this and that? A couple of them she changed and a couple of them she didn't, and then she was really happy. And, but it gives you for me, the time saving. And when I'm not an expert in her field at all, she does evolutionary zoology and looks at genes, how they were 400 million years ago. 100 million years ago, how did they develop over this time span? and you're going like, yeah, I've known nothing about it, but I can give you useful input on your application that I know nothing about because of AI. So that, is for me absolutely amazing. So Shana.
That is amazing. Yeah. And this is really where I think the magic happens. I think what I got from Krista's presentation is just where the blind spots are. And I'm actually taking a course, because we all have to take courses to keep our certifications up. And the AI is really helping me do my assignments. What's interesting is that they have an AI seeing if I'm actually creating my answers. And basically, the threshold is I'll use the AI to write the answers, but then I'll have to do the fact checking. I'll recrunch the numbers. But if you're below 90% AI generated, they'll accept the exam. But they have an AI tool that will test. Like if I just take the AI answers and submit them, it shows that it's 98% AI generated, and the university will fail you, right? So AI is great, but you still got to do your own work.
Yeah. I actually know somebody who, when they write, it's always detected 100% as AI. Their writing style is what the AI outputs. So what do you do then?
Yeah. I don't know. We're certainly living interesting times, but great presentation, Krista. And I want to say you did a great job, and you had some technical difficulties, but you soldiered on through, and you did great. And that all of us deal with this stuff when we're presenting. The internet connection goes down, or there's construction, and you handled it really well. So thank you for that.